WTWO's Beyond the Stands podcast is brought to you by Crow Equipment, Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates. Here's your host, Rick Semler.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Stands. I'm really excited about this one. I have on a guy I've covered since, he was about in 4th or 5th grade. It's been a lot of fun covering him and his family. I'm talking about 2011 Indiana Mr. Basketball, Washington Hatchet standout, IU star, and former NBA player Cody Zeller, a guy who has a lot of titles as I introduced him there. He's joining me from his home in Nashville, Tennessee. Cody, great to see you, bud.
Thank you. Great to see you as well. And like you said, you've covered me for a lot of years. So thank you for covering me throughout the years. And it's fun to connect a little bit. So I'm looking forward to chatting.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, no family probably enjoy covering more than the Zeller family. Obvious reasons, tremendous basketball players, but they're also a tremendous off-the-floor family as well. And been an honor to know you guys. Speaking of your family, we were joking about this. I already had older brother Luke on, and if you don't know Luke, he is the nicest guy in the world, but he loves to talk. And I kidded you, are you going to be able to, have a podcast as long as Luke?
No, not at all. I love Luke. You know us better than anyone, but the three personalities of my brothers and I are each just a little bit different. But I'm thankful for the relationship that I have with Luke. And every time I talk to him, too, it's 2 minutes on the phone. He's running from one meeting to the next, and he knows everyone and well-connected, good networker. But he can talk with the best of them. That's for sure.
You're right, very much so. So one of the big reasons I wanted to have Cody on, it was just recently announced, a huge accomplishment for him. He's one of 6 members, part of the 2025 IU Athletic Hall of Fame. He'll be going in September. I guess, first of all, when you got the call, Cody, what did that call mean to you?
Yeah, it's obviously a huge honor, and just to look through the list of the other Hall of Fame athletes that are in there, guys like Victor Oladipo went in last year, Calbert Chaney, Damon Bailey, so many Indiana basketball legends. But this is the Indiana Athletics Hall of Fame. So you're talking swimming and diving, soccer, and so many legends throughout the Indiana Athletics program. Even in this Hall of Fame class, 6 players are going in, and we got the first rower, we got a football player, we got kind of a little bit of everything. Kyle Schwarber, who made a huge name for himself, up in the MVP standings, is going in as well this year. I think there's some kind of, you have to be there in person, and so I think that they're going to delay his official induction into the Hall of Fame because hopefully he'll still be playing baseball at that time. But anyway, just a huge honor, obviously, and fun to kind of rehash and think about some of the fun memories that I had at Indiana.
I got to have a little fun with you here. You're just 32 years old and you're going in the Hall of Fame. Usually people in the Hall of Fame are, a little bit older. Are you old enough to go into a Hall of Fame?
No, officially they said 10 years. I had to be out of college for 10 years, which, that time has gone by quickly. But I kind of agree with you. It makes me feel old.
So I guess, first of all, what did IU, not only basketball, but Indiana University mean to you?
Yeah, it meant so much to me, especially, moving off to college for the first time. I know it was only an hour from home, but, just being with new teammates and being away from mom and dad and even just going to class, I loved, I graduated from the Kelly School of Business. So even going to my business classes, being a regular student as much as I could be, living in the dorms was a fun time, but also kind of, made me from a boy to a man and kind of created my own identity as a person. So yeah, those 2 years that I had, it played a big part in me coming back for my sophomore year. I had the chance to leave after my freshman year, and honestly, that came down to I wasn't ready to leave college yet. Like I wanted to enjoy more of this college experience, and so many people talk about how carefree those years are and how fun those years are of being a college student. So that's a big reason why I came back for my sophomore year, and I made the most of the 2 years out there, but I loved my time in Indiana for sure.
You speak of making the most of your 2 years at IU. We'll get to the team success in a second. I know that matters more to you than anything. But individual-wise, you were the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. You were a second-team All-American, led IU in scoring and rebounding your 2 years there. Just talk about what you were able to get done individually on the floor for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, I had some success, like you said. I'm more proud of the team success that we had my freshman year. Obviously, you think back to the upset win against Kentucky, making the NCAA tournament, which they hadn't been in a handful of years. Making the Sweet 16, and then my sophomore year, Big Ten champions, and upset in the NCAA tournament. So that's always a little bit of a bitter end of my career that. We won more that year, number one seed going into the NCAA tournament. But yeah, it's a lot of fun memories, a lot of fun wins. The win at Michigan my sophomore year to clinch the Big Ten title, last game of the regular season was another memorable one. I can go through the list and think back to some fun memories that we had, but I'm more focused on the team success, of course.
You mentioned it, the team success, and the three Zeller brothers are like this anyways. You guys had tremendous individual success, but it was always about the team, and I know you got that from your parents. It's team first, team first. At IU, it was the team. You made 2 NCAA tournaments both years there, 2 Sweet 16 appearances. You captured the 2013 Big Ten title, first in 11 years at IU, earned a number 1 seed, first time in 20 years at IU, and it's no secret, while IU has struggled lately, they do have a storied program. So to bring some of that stuff back to IU and kind of some of the glory days, what did that mean to you to be able to accomplish those things?
Yeah, especially growing up in Indiana. I grew up watching Indiana basketball and listening to Don Fisher on the radio and seeing guys like, Jared Jeffries and AJ Moye and those guys there, whatever it was, 2002, their run to the championship was my prime childhood. So, I grew up dreaming of wearing the candy stripe pants and doing all that. So I just wanted to make a little bit of an imprint of my time at Indiana, and I think we had a lot of team success. And I feel honored to share a locker room on and off the court with guys like I said, Victor Oladipo and Jordan Hulls, Christian Watford, Will Sheehy, so many guys that I'm still really, really close buddies with. So, some memorable years for sure.
You speak of wanting to leave an impact. It was no secret. IU was struggling before you went there. There was just a lot of things. They had coaching problems and, on probation a little bit. They were struggling. You were a heavy recruited kid. Were there ever hesitations from you that you didn't know that you wanted to be a part of that, or how bad did you want to be the turnaround there?
Yeah, I narrowed it down to Indiana, Butler, and North Carolina, as you covered a lot. I'm sure you remember all this, but Butler had Brad Stevens, and they've been 2 national championships with Gordon Hayward. Ron Norad is still a close buddy of mine. He's coached in the NBA, and he was actually an assistant coach with the Charlotte Hornets when I was in Charlotte, so it kind of came full circle. But he was the point guard on that team. So close buddies and a good spot at Butler. Obviously, Tyler was at North Carolina and a chance to play for Roy Williams and all that. But it really came down to, Butler was still in their rising, and I wanted to play on the biggest stage. And North Carolina said I was almost like their 5th center. They had my brother, they had John Henson, they had the Ware twins, and then they had James Michael McAdoo in my class, who was ranked higher than me in my class. So they were kind of set on big guys. Of course, they offered me a scholarship, but it was kind of a little bit of an afterthought. And then Indiana was like, Coach Crean, I give him credit, was like, you're our guy. And I didn't know how quickly the turnaround would happen. It wasn't, I'll be the first to say it wasn't a lot of guys that were, like I said, Victor Oladipo, already making strides. And he just continued to get better and better each year that he was at Indiana. And so I think they might have been missing a little size, a little athletic ability inside. But as far as those guys developing, I think I just kind of was the final missing piece, but not the one and only guy to turn it around on my own.
I want to thank our sponsors of the show, Crow Equipment Incorporated, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates, and Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, your 2018 American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning Building, a higher standard award winner for quality and reliability you can depend on. Call Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, 765-832-9401. Okay, so you talked about Tom Crean. I've been able to see a lot of recruiting in my 22 years covering sports. Never saw a recruiting process like yours that Tom Crean had with you. I mean, it was like if Washington had a practice, Tom Crean was there. If Washington had a game, Tom Crean was there. If Cody went to McDonald's, Tom Crean was there. Talk about the way, I remember, like, I got to know him well. Like, I saw him like 5 years after he was done coaching at IU, and he still remembered me because I just saw him all the time. Talk about just the way he recruited you, how hard it was. Just he was everywhere and after you. What did that mean?
Yeah, it meant a lot. I mean, he wanted to show that how important I was to their program, and how, he wasn't just talking the talk. He was, there at every AAU game, and a lot of times he'd bring the whole staff. It wasn't just him; it was bring the whole staff. So he's a relentless worker. He's a great recruiter, and he kind of painted the picture of what we could be if I came to Indiana. So yeah, I give him a lot of credit for putting a lot of work into the recruiting for sure.
Did he ever shock you a couple times, like you'd be at something and he was there? I mean, like I said, he was everywhere you were for like 2 years.
Yeah, and I need to ask my mom about this story, because there's NCAA rules are so funky that there was a situation where he came to the school once to see me. I think he watched me work out in the morning, and then I had some kind of like a presentation or a speech for a class or something, and he wanted to stick around for that, but the NCAA rule said he wasn't allowed to go to that as opposed to the basketball workout, or he couldn't be around whatever the NCAA rules are. The NCAA, that's a whole nother debate of, man, the NCAA rules make it a little difficult sometimes, but yeah, I mean, he wanted to be at everything. He wanted to show me how much he cared about me, whether it was coming to a tennis match or that I was playing in, or watching me for a class project. He was going to show me that he was fully invested. So
I know you have a wonderful father and a wonderful mom, but what does Tom Crean mean to you?
Yeah, he meant a lot to me. He was really hard on me in my 2 years that I was there, and he would tell me weekly that it was the Bible verse Luke 12:48 says, "Too much is given, much is required," and he would use that as kind of a motivational of like, you've been given a lot. You're 7 feet tall. You're athletic, and because of that, because God's given you a lot of God-given ability, it requires a lot from me as well to put in the work and put in the extra hours, and so we kind of use that as a motivational tactic, and then also. Just for coaching and even being on the other side of it, if you coach the best couple of players, me and Vic, coach those guys hard, the other guys are going to fall right in line. And so he was probably the hardest on us too, of anyone else. And I think it built a strong culture, and I know I can get through a lot because of the stuff that he put me through. So I have him to thank for that.
Now, I think the most telling stat about you, IU was 22-41 the 2 years before you came. Your 2 years, 56-16. Again, you had a lot of help, but a lot of people believed when Crean landed you, that was the piece to get IU basketball going again. How much did you, I don't want to say feel the pressure, but did you know that, the pressure was on you to turn things around?
Yeah. I mean, anytime you go to Indiana, play Indiana basketball, it's the for Indiana basketball fans, it's life and death, and that's what I wanted. I could have played in the Horizon League and probably had a good career at Butler, played at a mid-major, but it was like I wanted the big stage. I wanted to play against Big Ten opponents. I wanted to kind of have the spotlight and see what happens, and we had a lot of fun while out there. So. But yeah, I enjoyed some of the pressure.
I know social media has changed now from when you played, but it was still very popular. So what is it like to not only play for IU, but to be a star on IU and where fans can always try to reach out to you or contact you? What is that like, even when you're not playing and you're, walking around or, in your dorm or that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It's my mom used to joke that she could follow me throughout my day just by getting on Twitter and seeing, people tweeting about standing behind me in line at Subway or a coach at Best Buy walking around or sat by next to him in class or whatever else. So yeah, Twitter was big when I was in school. So everyone was kind of tweeting throughout their day. So, but yeah, it's just it is crazy how things have changed even then. Man, social media and just the extra pressure, and I think it can eat you alive if you will allow it to, even there, but more now. So a lot of that stuff is like, the only opinions I cared about were the coaches and players, teammates in the locker room, and I had some fun with it as far as interacting with fans, and social media is good for that purpose if you want to, use as a positive force, but it can easily affect you negatively, if you start listening to the crazy fans and the high expectations and everything else. So, yeah, it's a little bit bittersweet with social media for sure.
You speak of, making the guys happy in the locker room. You look back on that group, you had you and Vic that you talked about, Christian Watford, Will Sheehy, Jordan Hulls, Yogi Ferrell. How much did you guys have fun playing together, but also have good times off the court together?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun together off the court. We'd, finish a long, hard workout, and then we'd spend an hour, 2 hours in the locker room just hanging out afterwards. And, we spent all day, every day together because we go to class and we work out. And then we go to kind of training tables, which is for all the athletes, all the meals, kind of eat together. And then we'd have tutors together, and then we'd do it all again the next day. So we spent kind of all day, every day. And then just, going through, I think, the extra pressure and, going through a tough time, and not, we had great times. It's just the pressure that you kind of have to lean on each other through a tough season, the highs and lows of winning and losing, forms a special bond, guys. And, I look back now and it's like, man, still a lot of my closest friends, that list that you just listed right there, we're in each other's weddings, and we're, a lot of us, a lot of the guys have become fathers and have kids and have moved on. We're still each other's kind of big fans, going through life together and lean on each other through the good and hard times kind of life now. So just, although it was only 2 years that we spent together, it's a special bond with those guys that I have.
Now, we touched on it a little bit earlier, the beating Kentucky at the buzzer, the Michigan win to clinch the Big Ten championship. I'll be honest, I grew up an IU fan. When I was younger, that's just how we were raised. Bob Knight was still the coach in the 80s. It was the thing. And I remember being 7 years old watching them win a national championship in 1987 with my dad. So, I grew up that way. My dad raised me that way. Now in sports, I kind of cheer ISU, IU, Purdue, cover them all. But I grew up the IU fan, like I said. What were you mentioned Kentucky and you mentioned the Michigan game. Those two or any other moments that you just relish forever, that was your favorite moment on the court at IU?
Yeah, on the court, of course, the Kentucky game, the Michigan at Michigan my sophomore year. Even playing Michigan at home my sophomore year, that was like college game day, and I think we were 1-3 or vice versa, and to have a big win. My sophomore year, playing against North Carolina, although my brother wasn't there, but to win big. We blew them out by whatever 30 points was pretty satisfying and fun. Just a little, brother rivalry again with Indiana, North Carolina. So that was a fun one. I think when we get together, sometimes the guys will talk about my freshman year winning at NC State. It was kind of our first time. We have a good squad. We have a good team to, the Big Ten ACC Challenge. It was kind of our first time. We played some non-conference games, throughout my freshman year and in the early part of the season, but that was really our first test. And to win on the road, a close game, hostile environment, was really like, that was kind of the first time being like, hey, we got a chance to be a really good team. So yeah, a lot of fun memories and a lot of games that we can kind of look back on and have fun.
You also touched on this earlier. You could have very easily went out your freshman year to the NBA, possibly been the number 1 pick in the draft, 1 or 2, that kind of thing. You stayed. Throwing out money aside, and that's hard to do in life, especially when they throw NBA money at you. But if you would have had the chance and not considered money, could you possibly have stayed 4 years at IU? Like you just loved it that much there?
Yeah, I think going into my sophomore year, I kind of had in the back of my head that was going to be my last year. And obviously there's risk involved. Like you said, the money, one injury and the money could be gone. The opportunity to play in the NBA and sign a contract could be gone with one big time injury. So, it was a risk to come back for my sophomore year. But like I said, I wanted to be a college kid and I wanted to, I knew that we'd have a good team coming back for my sophomore year. But as I looked ahead, even that summer, as I looked ahead, I knew our team wasn't going to be the same if I came back for my junior or senior year. Victor Oladipo left. And then we had so many seniors on that team, Jordan Halls and Derek Elston, Christian Watford. All those guys are seniors. So I knew we wouldn't have as good of a team for my junior or senior year. So that was kind of the sweet spot of, stay for an extra year, but this is probably going to be my last year. So yeah, it ended up working out fine.
You speak of Christian Watford. I got to ask a guy who experienced the moment. IU replays that beating Kentucky shot all the time. Fans relive that all the time. Be honest, when the players get together, how often do you guys relive that moment or, rehash that moment or want to redo that moment?
Every once in a while, but I think it's tough not to, just because, that was the most memorable game I've probably ever been a part of, high school, college, or NBA, just because of the hype leading up to the game and, the back and forth. The game was back and forth. We had a 12-point lead or something with 4 or 5 minutes left and kind of went, let them back into it. And, for it to end like that, two undefeated teams, and we won an ESPY for best game winner of the year. So that across all sports is like just the magnitude of that play and the court storming and everything else. So it's tough not to talk about it or think about, just because it was such a fun, memorable time. And it's like Indiana fans are the best, but it's like where was I when I'll just meet people here in Nashville that went to IU and they got to tell me, whose couch they were sitting on. They were at their buddy's house and they were, or I was at the game or whatever else. And this was my path onto the court. Everyone kind of has their story of where they were at when they were watching that game. So it's a fun memory, not just for the players, but for all the fans.
Now, you're not just a former IU player. You go back, and I know you watch games a lot because I follow you on Twitter, and you comment during games, after games, about IU basketball. It hasn't quite been the same since you left, and that's not just you, several of the guys. Where do you see the state of IU basketball at right now?
Yeah, I think it's just the NIL and the transfer portal has just changed college basketball altogether, just because it's not quite what I experienced in just talking about my recruiting. It was like what was important to me with the coaching staff and the teammates that I would play with, and my development as a player and as a human being off the court, and the tradition to play at Indiana. And those are all the things that I looked at. And now it's how much we pay me. And that's about it. And it is a shame. And it's, it's just, things have just changed so much. So my point in saying all that is that it's, this year, I just went back a few weeks ago to Bloomington. They welcomed me, obviously. They were great about letting me sit in and watch practice. I felt welcomed, but there wasn't a single person that I knew, not on the medical staff, on the training staff, on the coaching staff, or a player. And so just wild to, I'm going to be just like the other fans that, we're just going to figure out on the fly who's on our roster and if we're going to be any good, So anyway, that's a bit of a bummer. Just as an Indiana basketball fan of like, we enjoy seeing like the 4-year guys, like the Jordan Halls that stay at home and stay all 4 years and come to love and know him and all that. But, it's just like, so, 1 or 2 years is about the max that you get with a guy now. So it is a bummer, but I am excited about Coach DeVries and kind of new blood in there. And his coaching staff that he's put together seems like they're going to be great. And then, NIL has been a bummer for a lot of small schools, but Indiana has a decent sized NIL budget, and that is one of the advantages. You can kind of go out and buy talent, and spend some money, and hopefully we put together a good roster. So, I think I'm going to figure out, like everyone else will, once the games start happening, if we're going to be any good this year.
You support IU through and through. I see it. But one thing I feel like there just hasn't been stability. They let go of Coach Crean, let go of Archie pretty fast, let go of Coach Woodson. And I don't know how well you knew, obviously, Coach Crean well, but how well you knew all those guys. Do you like the changing so much? I mean, what do you think of what's going on in the leadership right now with IU basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone likes change. Of course, we'd love to have a Bobby Knight's going to be there for 20 or 30 years, but it's easier said than done. It's for one, it's Indiana basketball has high expectations, so the administration wants to see, NCAA tournament bids and Sweet 16 and beyond. The national championship is always the goal, and it's high expectations. And if you don't do it, they're going to find someone else to turn it over quickly. So, yes, of course, the goal is stability and finding the right person to be there long term, but haven't quite found it the last couple of tries. But again, I'm going to support Indiana basketball, and hopefully we can figure it out this time around.
You got to meet new head coach Darren DeVries. You spoke of that. You spent a couple days at IU, so you're ahead of the fans. Most fans got to be around him. I guess what were your thoughts of him? I know it was just brief, but what you've seen of him, what do you like, and what do you think he brings to IU?
Yeah, I was impressed. First of all, just as a human being, he's from Iowa. My parents grew up in Iowa. He's just a small town Midwestern guy, super easy to talk to, very relatable. And then on the court, just loves basketball. He's, analytically knows the game. Even just being there in the summer, I could tell his wheels were spinning. Even how to coach different players based on their personality and, what lineups they did a lot of scrimmaging the day that I was there, and he was toying with different lineups. And so anyway, I was impressed with him, like I said, both kind of on and off the court. But hopefully they said, Bloomington's such a small town that you hear things about him quickly, but they're like, yeah, he's mowing his own lawn. He's just a regular guy mowing his own lawn. That's not like he's not just spending his millions of dollars to pay someone else. Like, he's a Midwestern good old boy that wants to, mow his own lawn and get his hands dirty a little bit.
I like to hear that. So I got to ask, like I said, when I was a very young kid, IU won a national championship. In 2002, went to the Final Four. You and your group restored IU basketball for a couple of years, but it's been a yo-yo effect since then. Duke and Kentucky and Kansas, the blue blood has been there. IU is a blue blood, but they haven't been up there. How important do you feel it is, not only for IU, but for college basketball, for the Hoosiers to return to that platform again?
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Of course, we want to be back in that mix of top teams every year. Like I said, we haven't found it the last handful of years, but of course, I have high hopes that we'll get back to that point. And like I said, the tradition, and if you zoom out for a second, which is sometimes tough for Indiana fans to do, the tradition is still there, and Assembly Hall, when you walk in there, is just like unlike anywhere else in the country. And I still put us in that group with the Indianas and the Kentucky and Kansas and UCLA, of the Blue Buds. So hopefully we get back to that point.
And got to ask, enough with the college talk. I know a lot of people wondering, NBA career, what's going on with you? We talked about this. You haven't officially retired, but you put 12 years in the NBA, had a very successful career. You were the 4th overall pick in 2013 by Charlotte, averaged 7.9 points per game. You mentioned it right away. People might not know. Injuries have certainly rattled your body. What is it, 10 in the last 12 years, you said?
Yeah, I've had 10 surgeries. So 2 on my left knee, 1 on my right knee, both my shoulders, both my hands. I got plates and screws in both my hands, and 3 surgeries. And so it's just a part of playing specifically inside, playing center in the NBA. I've always been sized. My speed and my quickness is more my advantage, but, and I enjoy throwing my body around and being tough and physical. So I probably did it to myself at some points, but, I wouldn't change anything that I did throughout my career. I'm thankful for, the 11, 12 years in the NBA, and fun memories once again of like the guys I got to share the locker rooms with, and the memories that I have of different cities, and fun experiences that basketball opened so many amazing doors in my life.
One thing I want to mention, especially for kids that watch this, you were a 5-star recruit, everybody after you in the country, played in the NBA, but no matter how talented you were, you hustled like nobody I'd seen, especially for a 7-footer. It wasn't uncommon for you to dive on the floor. How important it was, I don't want to say the little things, but it wasn't beneath you to hustle and get on the floor. How important was that to you?
Yeah, I think since you know my brothers and my parents, I think that started when I was, playing in a little hoop and drive. Being a little brother, being pushed around by my older brothers. I didn't have a chance of even scoring on them if I didn't, throw an extra elbow or get physical, and like I said, kind of put everything I have into it. And then even, like I said, back to college, Coach Crean, telling me how much I have been given, being 7 foot tall, and I just wanted to squeeze every ounce of potential and that I had in my body, and I think I tried to do that each time I stepped on the court, each year that I played, and beyond. So win or lose, I could always look myself in the mirror and say I did my best, and that gives me a lot of peace each night as I went to bed.
Couple questions, and I'll get you out of here. I know you're a busy man. We got to talk about your days at Washington, where it all started for you. You won 3 state championships. I know your other brother, or Tyler, said, it doesn't count. You were a freshman. You didn't do much the freshman year, but junior and senior year, you were the starter and the man on the Washington team. How special was your time being a Washington Hatchet?
Yeah, it was really fun, and even just once again, just see my brothers kind of go before me, and even look back now, it's. To play in a town of 12,000 and the high school gym holds 7,000. I tell people that, here in Nashville or Charlotte, and they just can't believe anything is even possible, something like that. So it was really special memories to play in front of the Washington faithful, and we had won a lot of games, had a lot of fun memories those couple years, and even just being a kid to be able to play it. Bankers Life Fieldhouse for the state championship was so much fun, and never would have imagined to be able to play there plenty more times in the NBA, going back as an opposing player. But yeah, just so many fun memories once again, and just even to play with Tyler that one year. I think Luke would probably say the same. The one year that Luke and Tyler, at least had the state championship run, that they were on the same team. As I look back on my career as a whole, high school, college, the NBA, that was one of my favorite years, my freshman year, Tyler's senior year, just because we got to share the court. And, we're obviously still close now, and we don't see each other as much as we'd like to, but, I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have then, but just to be able to, drive home in the same car together. He was my ride home. So, spent a lot of time in the car together, on the same team together, on the bus together. To be on the same team with him was a lot of fun.
So honestly, both your brothers won state championships. Both your brothers were Indiana Mr. Basketballs. By the time that you were the man on Washington your sophomore year, were you nervous? I mean, did you feel you could live up to the standards that those two set, or did you want to break all their records?
Yeah, I always tell the story. We just lived just outside of town. It was only a 8 or 9 minute drive to school, but on the way from our house to school, the road that we took, there was a big sign that we drive past that said, "Welcome to Washington, home of 2005 Mr. Basketball Luke Zeller, 2008 Mr. Basketball Tyler Zeller," and they left a spot for me. And so that's what I had to drive past my sophomore year, my junior year, my senior year, is like they just knew that I was basketball. You talk about pressure, we talk about, pressure to Indiana. I think that was kind of my introduction to pressure, kind of on a small scale, to see if I could live up to the hype. And like I said, I was fortunate to have some success there and won a couple state titles and had a lot of fun while I was there in high school.
Now, I've had a chance to hang out with the Zeller family a lot over the years, and I always got the sense from Luke and Tyler that because you were the baby, Mom took better care of you. You were the favorite. So is that true? Did you feel you got preferential treatment over your brothers?
I don't know. That doesn't surprise me that they would say that, but I can't help it if I'm the favorite. I mean, I'm the best child, so I mean, it's not. No, I'm sure they would say that though, for sure.
I love it. Well, like I said, I wanted to have you on. Congratulations on going into the IU Athletic Hall of Fame. Such a huge accomplishment for a guy that did, in a short period of time, so big things down in Bloomington. Congratulations again. Great to catch up to you. Haven't seen you in a while. Keep doing big things in your life, bud.
I appreciate it. And thanks so much for covering us throughout our careers and even post-career now. So I appreciate you having me on and catching up.
Anytime. That is Cody Zeller talking about going into the IU Athletic Hall of Fame. Remember, you can follow Beyond the Stands on Spotify, CastBox, Pocket Cast, and iHeartRadio, and always on WTWO's MyWabashValley.com. That is it for this edition of Beyond the Stands.
WTWO's Beyond the Stands podcast is brought to you by Crow Equipment, Andrews Heating and Air Conditioning, Snap Home Media LLC, Sycamore Insurance Associates. Catch this episode again and more of Rick's interviews online at MyWabashValley.com.